This is the story of American Blues Legends 79. Now, the previous Blues Legends tours we did in the 1970s, starting in 73, we did the tour, always 5, 6, 7 weeks, and at the end of the tour, when everyone was well bedded in, we recorded them and put the album out after they left. But there's a great demand on the tour for people to buy albums on the gigs. So this year being 79, we decided to go to Chicago. And we rented the studio that had been the old Chess Studios on 2120 South Michigan Avenue. Blues fans of the Rolling Stones will know that that's the title of an early Rolling Stones album because they recorded it there. It's where Muddy, all the guys recorded. When we were there, it was Eddie Cody's studio called Odyssey. And he was the house engineer at Chess Records, so it was still in the family. Seeing my way around Chicago, I had help originally of Jim and Amy O'Neill produced what is now the world's leading blues magazine called Living Blues. It's now produced out of the University of Mississippi, but back then it was Jim and Amy in Chicago. And I enlisted the help of Jimmy Dawkins, one of the great Chicago bluesmen, for me, one of the great guitar players. There were 4 really great guitar players in those days in Chicago. Jimi Hendrix was the one that made a big name for himself, but there's Buddy Guy, who's now the grand old man of Chicago blues. Jimmy Fast Fingers Dawkins, so he hated the Fast Fingers. So, sorry Jimmy, but that's how we knew you, and you were. And there was Hubert Sumlin, of course, who was great. So, Jimmy showed me around Chicago, and embarrassingly, he made me audition these blues guys. I mean, I was so humiliated to have to go to talk to people like Billy the Kid Emerson and say, Billy, we need to have a listen to you and see if you're good enough. Come on. What an embarrassment. But Jimmy was fastidious and he insisted we did that. So we held the auditions, had a lot of fun, ended up very drunk. And we had 6 guys in the audition. We had Willie Black in on bass guitar as well. Willie was never supposed to tour and didn't tour. But he was there as the house bass player. Although on several tracks, people like Jimmy Lee played bass anyway. The guys on the album were Eddie C. Campbell, Good Rockin' Charles, Billy the Kid Emerson, Leslie Davenport, Chico Chism, and little Smokey Smothers. And we made the album over 2 wonderful days in Chicago. It was so easy to record, a lot of first takes. We had recorded 3 times as much material as we actually needed. We put the record out, went on tour, did 7 weeks, and we sold a lot of records. So, this is the story of American Blues Legends 79. This is Eddie C. Campbell, born 1939 in Duncan, Mississippi. On the American Blues Legends album, he featured on the first 2 songs, and this one's called Look What You Done, one of his old songs, and performing with him is Smokey Smothers, Willie Black on bass, and Chico Chism on drums. Eddie C. Campbell was a certainly interesting character. He's known, he told me, as the king of the West Side Blues. He moved from Mississippi with his family at the age of 12 into Chicago, where, for some reason, his mother was a friend of Muddy Waters. And when he was 12 years old, he actually got to sit in with the Muddy Waters band, but there are no recordings. He became a staple of Chicago blues, one of the really good guys, recorded with Howley Wolf, Little Walter, Willie Dixon, Coco Taylor, Luther Allison. He was the band leader for a while with Jimmy Reed. That's a pretty significant sort of role to play. He was a star of the American Blues Legends 79 tour. He fell in love with Europe, and Europe fell in love with him. So much so that a year and a half, 2 years later, I had a knock on my front door in Birmingham, and standing outside was Eddie C. Campbell. I said, "What are you doing, Eddie?" He said, "I've come to live in Europe." I said, "Where?" He said, "I don't know, Europe." But he finished up living in Amsterdam, and then in Duisburg, I think it was, in Germany. He eventually went back to the States. Oh, I'd say that was 1992-ish. Work again in Chicago. I think he had some problem with drugs, selling them. I think he failed to pay his bill at one time, which was a bit of a problem for him. But when he was on tour in Europe in '92, he took ill, returned to States. He had a heart attack, he had a stroke. His wife, his ever-loving wife, who was also his agent, looked after him really well. She raised money to get him back to Chicago, and he lived a little while longer. And he died in November 1918 in Oak Park, Illinois, age of 79. Oak Park, Illinois, strangely enough, was where Billy the Kid Emerson ended up as a preacher. I always wonder if Billy the Kid was the man who buried Eddie C. Campbell in Oak Park, Illinois in 2018. Who knows? Eddie C. Campbell. I never found out what the C stood for. We're listening to Chico Chism. Chico Chism, here singing, normally a drummer, in this case he's just singing. On guitars behind him are Jimmy Fast Fingers Dawkins, Eddie C. Campbell on guitars. Piano player is Billy the Kid Emerson. Little Smokey Smothers is on bass guitar, and the drummer is Lester Davenport. Recording the song High Rise Blues on American Blues Legends 79. Chico was born in 1936 in Shreveport, Louisiana. I don't know much about his background, but there was a report of him living in San Francisco at one time, but he fetched up in Chicago, which is where we found him for our American Blues Legends 79 tour. He was the go-to drummer, but also he led his own band. And he's got a pretty significant career of playing with some pretty big names. Clifton Chenier, for instance. Sonny Boy Williamson II, of course. Roscoe Gordon, Muddy Waters, Memphis Slim, Luther Allison, Freddie King. And he was the last ever drummer for Howlin' Wolf. That's a pretty impressive CV, isn't it? He recorded with Bo Diddley, Louisiana Red, Pinetop Perkins, and Jimmy Rogers. Soon after we returned from American Blues Legends, after he returned to Chicago, he relocated to what became his natural home, really, which was Phoenix, Arizona. He was hugely popular there. In fact, soon after his death, he was inducted into he was the first man to be inducted into the Arizona Blues Hall of Fame. And he's often touted as the most famous Arizona bluesman. Lovely to work with, terrific player, really good man to be on tour with. And going on the road for 7 weeks with people, you do get to know them a little bit. He died in Phoenix, Arizona in 2007 at the age of 79. And to my mind, he never ever received the recognition outside of Arizona, that is, that his talent deserved. His only time he ever played outside of the US, I believe, was on our 1979 tour when we played throughout Europe and the UK. We kept in touch till the end of his life, and he was a particularly good man and a really great bluesman. Chico Chism. This is good Rockin' Charles with Eddie C. Campbell on guitar, Smothers on guitar, Lester Davenport on bass, and Chico Chism on drums. Recorded at 2120 South Michigan Avenue, which Rolling Stones fans will recognise as the former Chess Record Studio. By the time we went there, it was run by Ed Cody, who was the former chief engineer at Chess, so still in the family. Good Rockin' Charles. Born Henry Lee Bester in 1933 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. For some reason, somewhere along the road, he changed his name to Charles Edwards. Moved to Chicago when he was 16 years of age to join the Willie Longtime Smith at the Brown Derby in Chicago. Baby Johnny Young on Maxwell Street, and soon was recruited to join the Lewis Myers band. Lewis Myers, of course, later became a Muddy Waters long-time sideman alongside his brother David Myers. Between them they played bass and guitar. It's a pretty cracking band to be in. He also recorded, he didn't record, he also played with Otis Smothers and later on Jimmy Rogers. When he was with Jimmy, he first showed, I was going to say a reluctance, more than a reluctance, really almost a fear of the recording studio. He was a settled sideman with Jimmy. Came time to go in the studio, and he told Jimmy he couldn't record, he wasn't going to record. He was replaced by Big Walter Horton. Some years later, he was offered to do a solo album for Cobra Records, and again he turned it down. He did go to the studio 75, that was 4 years before we recorded him. Recorded an album called Mr. Blues, which was his only ever solo album. He recorded with us, but this wasn't a solo album, this was one of 6 musicians. And he was great in the studio. I just don't understand his previous reluctance, because he was easy to work with. Most stuff he did right first take. If we had to do a second take, it was probably due to me or the engineer cocking it up. But he was great. But for some reason, who knows? This song's called I'm Going Back Home to Where the Fat Is At. No, it's not. It's called I'm Going Back to Where Women Got Meat on Their Bones. Yeah, and something. He was great. He was great to work with on tour, and he never did tour again. He sort of didn't have the confidence to push himself forward, I guess. He died when he was fairly young. No, he was very young. 1989, he died at the age of 56. Good Rockin' Charles. This is Billy the Kid Emerson with Chico Chism on drums, Lester Davenport on bass, Eddie C. Campbell and Smokey Smothers on guitars. Buzzard Luck. That's a lyric, I think, worthy of Chuck Berry, one of the great blues lyrics. I ain't nothing in my pocket but the bottom. That's more than I can say for my shoes. Billy the Kid Emerson was born William Robert Emerson in 1929 in Tar Pond Springs in Florida. His father was a blues singer, Mr. N.T. Emerson. He learned to play piano in church, which sort of pervades all his music over the years. He always has that churchy feeling to stuff. It's great. I think he wrote some great songs. Locally, that means in Tarpon Springs, Florida, he joined the Billy Battle Band. I think he was 17 years of age. He was offered a place at an athletic school at the University of Florida, but he decided instead to enlist in the United States Air Force at the time of career, and he went to Korea. Discharged, he then came back to Memphis from 1952 to 54, and he became piano player in the great Ike Turner Kings of Rhythm, recorded, of course, for Sam Phillips at Sun Studios in Memphis, Tennessee. Moved to Chicago in 1955, and he recorded with everybody: VJ, Chess, Mad, Rooster Records, USA Records, and Big Bear Records on this. Very proud to have recorded Billy the Kid. He's not a huge name, but in the business, he's a big name. He had a small hit with a song called Red Hot, but that was dwarfed by the big hit that Billy Lee Riley had with Billy the Kid's song, Red Hot. Bob Luman also had a hit with the same song, but Billy failed. He also wrote a great song in 55, which he recorded for VJ, called Every Woman I Know Is Crazy About My Automobile, which was a flop for him, but it was on a hit record for Sam, the Sham and the Pharaohs on his album called Woolly Bully, and later on, the same song was a successful record for Ry Cooder. Again, poor Billy missed out. But he later became known as Reverend William R. Emerson at Church Oak Park Church in Illinois, where he still is, 94 years old. Listen to his lyrics, they're rather more secular than sacred, but I'm sure he's making a go of that as well. He was the misfit on the tour. He was always preaching to people about the ills of women and drinking and having too much fun. So to hear that he's now a preacher in his own church in Oak Park, well, that's no big surprise. But he also wrote a song called When It Rains, It Really Pours, which was recorded by Elvis Presley, Billy the Kid Emerson. Little Smokey Smothers, Don't Throw Your Love on Me So Strong, with Eddie C. Campbell and Jimmy Dawkins on guitars, Billy the Kid Emerson on organ, Lester Davenport on bass, and Chico Chism on drums. Little Smokey Smothers was born Albert Abraham Smothers in Chula, Mississippi, 1939, the younger brother of Otis Big Smokey Smothers. He was a self-taught guitar player, moved to Chicago, age 17, to join Magic Sam. He also played shortly afterwards with Otis Rush, Lazyville Lucas, before joining the wonderful Howling Wolf Band, for whom he recorded with 1961 on Chess Records. He was a founding member of the Paul Butterfield Blues Band, and when he was replaced by Elvin Bishop, he developed a friendship with Elvin which lasted for a lifetime. In the 60s he played with Buddy Guy, James Cotton, Julie Wells, Earl Hooker. In the 1970s he gave up music, hadn't the confidence to believe he could make a living at it, which was wrong. He was a great player. Worked in construction. When we found him in 1979, he was still working construction, but he agreed to make the tour, recorded with us at the Old Chess Studios. Then he cried off the last minute. He phoned me up to say he couldn't go because his boss at the construction company had said if he didn't stay in construction and blow out his tour in Europe, then his job would not be waiting for him when he got back. So he stayed in Chicago and replaced him with Nolan Struck. In 1993, Elvin Bishop persuaded him to do a solo album with Elvin called Boss Man, the Chicago Blues of Little Smokey Smothers. In 1995, he came unwell. Open heart surgery. Next year, he made an album, second time around. In 1999, he played at Mick Jagger's 55th birthday party, featured in Martin Scorsese's series, The Blues. Bad health docked him. He lost his legs, had legs amputated from diabetes. Elvis put a fundraising album together called The Real Chicago Blues Brother, which was Smothers. All the proceeds went towards his medical expenses. He died November the 20th, 2010. A really great talent, which the world should have had more opportunity to enjoy that. But we've got it. Little Smokey Smothers, and you've heard it. That's Lester Davenport on harmonica and, of course, handling the singing duties. Guitars, Eddie Campbell, Jimmy Dawkins, Billy the Kid Emerson on pianos, Smokey Smothers on bass, and Chico Chism on drums. Lester Davenport was born Leslie Davenport in 1932 in Tudor, Mississippi. Really good blues territory. His nickname is Mad Dog, Lester Mad Dog Davenport, but on tour he was the sweetest of men. I don't know where the Mad Dog came from. So, he was 14 years old when he went to Chicago to join Arthur Spires. He soon was playing with the Chicago blues royalty, Snooky Pryor, Homesick James. He's doubly up on his day job. He was a paint sprayer. Crazier. These old guys did so well over here. They played major concert halls, 500, 600, 700 seaters, audiences loving them, and they go back to work in Chi-Town in Chicago as a paint sprayer, in his case. He soon joined the Bo Diddley Band, which is a bit of a turn-up in fortunes for him. 1980s, he moved to Gary, Indiana, to join the Kinsey Report, which was headed by, as you probably know, Big Daddy Kinsey. It was a sort of family band, but it was a nice gig for him throughout the 1980s. 1994, back in Chicago, recording with Wolf Records, with Maxwell Street, Jimmy Davis, and Kansas City Red. Lester, Mad Dog Davenport, released 2 further albums under his own name and died, age 77, in Chicago. Always amazed me how these guys, these paint sprayers, these construction workers, play on these big stages in Europe with such swagger, such confidence, like they've been doing all their lives. And somehow they had to make that mental adjustment to go back to menial tasks in Chicago and scrape a living, playing the barrel houses as such. Yeah. I'm so proud that we got these guys like Leslie, who hardly ever recorded for perpetuity. We got them on Big Bear Records, and we're going to do our best to keep them available so future generations can enjoy the music that inspired us. Leslie Davenport. Brand new copies of the American Blues Legends 79 LP and t-shirt, as well as a range of blues t-shirts, posters, CDs and LPs are available from our online shop. Visit www.bigbearmusic.com/shop. By buying Big Bear merchandise, you will be supporting our independent record label and helping us to keep the blues alive in these difficult times. For more stories of the blues and performances from Henry's Blues House, subscribe to our channel. If you're watching this live, we will be streaming some of our favourite performances by Dirk Diggler's Blues Review at Henry's Blues House starting at 8 p.m. on our channel. A link will appear on the screen about now. Thank you. Let's keep the blues alive.